Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. So it seems that Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban isn't the only Kremlin troll in the EU's ranks anymore. Enter Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, who is rapidly stepping up as Orban's eager understudy, a vice Orban, if you will. Here is a NATO and EU leader who, by the sound of his latest musings, might actually feel more at home in Belarus, crouching a little closer to the throne of the great comrade Putin. With the recent flurry of statements, Fico has practically checked every box on the Kremlin-approved list. First, he claimed that Zelensky allegedly begged the European Union to station nuclear weapons in Ukraine, an idea he says was sensibly rejected by the EU out of self-preservation. He then went on to lament Europe's wariness over the Ukrainian conflict, which according to him has become nothing more than a casual tallying up of weapons and funds. Next, he labeled Ukraine's victory plan an escalation, not a solution, before casually expressing his desire to visit Moscow on the 9th of May to discuss his favorite topics with Putin himself.
Хотите приехать в Москву 9 мая, я правильно поняла?
Да, я буду очень рад. Я поблагодарил Красную Армию, воинов Красной Армии и бывших народов Советского Союза, например, во время празднования Словацкого национального восстания или во время празднования 80-летия Карпатско-Дуклинской операции. Я сказал, что маршал Конев заслужил памятник в Словакии. Я буду считать за честь приехать в Москву для участия в праздновании 80-летия окончания Второй мировой войны и прежде всего победы над фашизмом. Я чувствую, что это мой личный долг.
Спасибо вам огромное за вашу позицию. Если бы у меня было сейчас с собой приглашение, я бы немедленно вам его передала прямо сейчас, но что-то мне подсказывает, что вы обязательно его получите в самое-самое ближайшее время.
Also, as you can see, he decided it would be a good idea to appear on Russian state TV. You know, no European leader actually did that following the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Still, Skabeyeva was positively ecstatic about his appearance. Is that love hanging in the air? Anyway, of course it wouldn't be a complete performance without casting doubts on EU sanctions, which Fico insists simply are not working. And also without calling for peace talks as, the only way forward. Ukraine be damned, right? For a man representing a country within NATO and the European Union, Fico's pro-Russian rhetoric is certainly rather bold. But perhaps he knows he has found an unusual career path in Europe, a Kremlin mouthpiece moonlighting as a democratically elected official. Orban might want to watch his back. There is a new Kremlin understudy in town. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently addressed the revelations from the New York Times that Ukraine had requested long-range Tomahawk missiles from the US. The president clarified that his request for long-range weaponry was tied to a hypothetical scenario. If Russia refused to engage in peace negotiations, Ukraine would need the capacity to respond. He explained that this request was a part of a classified element of Ukraine's victory plan, shared discreetly with Western leaders, including the United States. And let's go with a quote. One aspect of our discussions was the provision of long-range weapons, but only on the condition that Russia showed no intent to end hostilities. We received a response that such deliveries could escalate the conflict, said President Zelensky, highlighting the conditional nature of the request. Reflecting on the media coverage, Zelensky expressed disappointment. And again, let's go with another quote from President Zelensky. What do these media reports mean? When so many countries support the victory plan, suddenly stories emerge that we're asking for hundreds of Tomahawks. What's the meaning behind this messaging? This was a confidential part of talks between me and the White House, President Zelensky pointed out. He also added with a hint of frustration that, and I quote once again, "It seems there are no secrets left between partners." The New York Times, citing an anonymous White House official, reported that Ukraine's confidential request had recently come to light, further exposing the delicate balance of transparency and confidentiality in international alliances amidst ongoing global tensions. Now, in the Russian city of Krasnodar, one of the largest and most populated areas in southern Russia, a video has surfaced captures the stark contrast between the Kremlin's boasts and the everyday reality faced by ordinary Russians. While Putin's propagandists continue to trumpet the supposed greatness of Russia, millions live amid deteriorating infrastructure and economic challenges. Despite this grim reality, Moscow funnels billions into the war effort, sending untrained civilians on deadly missions in Ukraine. Not only is this war causing tragic losses for Ukrainian civilians, but it also relentlessly sacrifices Russian citizens in so-called meat assaults, reducing soldiers to mere numbers. Meanwhile, domestic conditions in Russia continue to decay, as funds are prioritized for military objectives over essential services and, infrastructure.
Краснодар, посмотрите. Вся Россия в одном лице. Там затоплено, здесь затоплено, и здесь же все в мусоре.
This video is from Krasnodar, showing dilapidated buildings and struggling communities, painting a clear picture. While the Kremlin speaks of a powerful nation, the reality for many is a life in a neglected Russia that's crumbling from within. Of course, the Russian propagandists might say, hey, hold on a minute, you've seen this water there? This is the Venice of the East. Actually, don't quote me on that. I didn't give them this idea, but I'm quite sure that at some point they will probably think that this is the best way to explain all this. And now, let's take a look at one of the unfortunate gas stations visited by the heroic army of the Great Russia. As you quickly notice, the station's shop didn't suffer from bombs or shelling. It simply fell victim to some impromptu requisitioning.
Пиздец. Мороженое уехало вместе, блядь, с холодильником, нахуй. Кофемашину, блядь, и разъебанную, блядь, спиздили. Ёб твою мать. Что тут было, блядь, искать? Мониторов нету. Вырвали, блядь, нахуй с потолком, блядь, с проводами.
Nothing says military might quite like pilfering snacks and supplies from local stores, literally treating them as if they were loot boxes in a video game. It seems that some Russian soldiers have taken the concept of liberation a bit too literally. Liberating shelves of food, drinks, and whatever else isn't nailed down. In the grand scheme of things, this sight perhaps says more about the state of this great army than any propaganda reel ever could. After all, when the shoplifters wear fatigues, you can only wonder what they are really fighting for. And so another episode of Break the Fake comes to a close. But please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.